Get ready for the dictation. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, thank you for the opportunity. I also compliment my dear young friend, the Honorable Minister. We are good friends from Mumbai for many years. I compliment him for the enthusiasm and the zeal with which he has set about discharging his responsibilities. I am sure he will always find the right support from people like me because I sincerely believe that the future of our country depends on our energy security. Power being a very important ingredient in the livelihood of all individuals for the industrial development and the overall progress of our nation, I think it is important. A lot of our colleagues have spoken on various aspects, so I do not want to go into it again and again. From 1991, when the reform process of power started in our country, the independent power producers took off, and therefore we saw a lot more capacity building up in the private sector also. But unfortunately, while the generation side of the power reforms took off, the transmission and distribution of power did not keep pace with the generation of power. That is one of the main reasons why, after so many years of reforms, as well as the building up of huge capacities, both by the public and the private sectors, and by the state electricity boards, we have not yet been able to resolve the problems of power. In fact, it is sad that in a country as big as India, power is something which is very core to what we would like to see as progress in our country. The power scenario cannot be sorted out by my friend sitting in Delhi. I think it requires a strong partnership between the center and the states. It is important because while the central government through its PSUs does produce power, but ultimately power is primarily produced by the states or by the independent power producers. We have a lot of power being generated in pockets, but equitable distribution of power, the pan India distribution of power, the concept for which the Power Grid Corporation was set up, the concept with which we want to see that power moves freely from maybe Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Imphal to Bhuj. I think all that has to be achieved through a proper transmission grid, and that is principally, I think, where we have not yet been able to keep pace. Many a time we see power failure or tripping of power in some parts of the country. All this can be resolved if we have a strong power grid. I think the Honorable Minister would look into this objectively. It is something which we have to follow up very aggressively. The other issue here is we always hear about the shortage of coal. Well, whatever the real situation may be, I do not want to go into that. On the same subject, the other day you mentioned that you had advised everybody to import coal. Importing coal is one part of the solution. But is it an effective solution? Is it something which is available on tap? It is not available on tap. You cannot import coal on demand. It is linked to long-term supply. You have to go for global tenders. then you have to ship it into our country. Then from ports you have to eventually take it to the power stations. It is a huge exercise, it is very cumbersome, and it is a major exercise. I think if I have a little knowledge of the sector within India, I can tell you that it is not the question of coal India's production of power alone. Yes, there is shortage of coal, and the coal India has not been able to produce as much coal as is required. But the issue relating to the coal which is produced within India, its evacuation and transportation has not yet been resolved. That is one of the major reasons. If you actually see the pithead reserves of the coal India or of various mines, I think you will get the answer that coal, if really evacuated and transported on time, can reduce the time lag between the quantity of coal that is produced and the quantity that is eventually being consumed. Having been in government also for some time, I know for a fact that sincere efforts were made. There are some issues relating to evacuation of coal where some railway lines had to be added. Those railway lines could not be added for many years because environmental clearances did not come or land acquisition was an issue. For a country as big as India, if 2000 km or 3000 km of railway lines are required for more effective dispersal and evacuation of coal, I think we should look at it in a mission mode. If you really want to succeed, I would tell you to take this up, and it will be truly something which you would be able to address in a very reasonable period of time at the limited cost stop.